Kia ora Tefano, welcome to part 3 of our Make an App with Thunkable. Just a quick reminder of where we're up to. So far we have done some research, we have collected a whole pile of data, we have collected some images, we have written up the blurbs and things that we want already. Our text and everything is decided before we're building here. Okay, we have planned our thing out, where today our goal is to build out the timeline page. So we're coming back here. The first thing we need to do is we actually need to make our database. So this is a live app which is self-populating. It needs to be able to see that data and do something with it. So we're not actually going to make 8 static buttons. Remember, there's 8 events that we want to talk about. We're not building out 8 event pages. We're building out a single event page, which is going to pull that data from our database and do something with it. So let's make our data. We're going to make a data source here, a little plus button, whoop, up in that corner, go. The data source we're going to do, ignore all of that. You can make it with Google Sheets. I tried that to start with. It was a bit buggy. It took a bit long to do it. Sometimes it would get stuck when talking to Google Drive. We're going to make our own table over on this side. So the data source is going to be database, or it's going to be the info, or it's going to be something like that. I don't know. Let's call it Boyd data. Of course, you're going to call it something else. Your events are on something else. It's not on the burning of the Boyd. All right, here we go. This is a database. A database is a whole bunch of tables. This is a relational database. These databases are related to each other. Each row, this data is related. So we need to name our columns. Let's get rid of these. Oh no, we can rename our columns. So we need, how many columns? I have forgotten. We need 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. And it needs to look like this. First one is going to be called ID. You may think that's a bit redundant because we've already numbering stuff on the side. It's not, for a very specific reason later on. ID, let's make a new column. This is going to be called title. Oops, T-I-T-L-E. Let's make a new column. This column is going to be called image. Let's make a new column, and this one's going to be called text. Fantastic, that's it. 4 columns, and we need to have 8 rows. Each row is the data for an event. So I'm going to come across to my spreadsheet. I've already done this. I'm about to copy paste it in. You might need to spend the time making this database up. So I've picked my 8 events already. I've numbered them in ID, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have named, I've given them titles. I have given them images. Now, each of these images is the file name of an image I've uploaded previously. So under under my assets, you'll see here, even though it's out of order, image 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't like that naming scheme. I wish I named them the Boyd Set Sail.jpg, so I actually had the title on there. I just didn't want to spend the time doing that. I think it was more important to get this demo done today. Okay, back to my data, and back to my data here, and here's my database. Okay. and now I've got some text, and so the text is quite long and it's quite lengthy. I suggest you write it somewhere else, you format it somewhere else, particularly paragraph breaks are not easy to do in that database. So I'm grabbing all of this, I'm copying it, and I'm pasting it into here. Bonk! I now have, my database is done. 4 columns, ID, title, image, and text. 8 rows, 1 per event. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we're golden. The IDs are just numbered off in order. The images correspond to the images in your assets, the file names, with the name and the extension. Good. Kapai. Database. Done. Let's do something with that data. First thing I want to do is I want to have here on the timeline side, I want to have a list of buttons come up, and I want to have one button per event and not numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I want the actual title to come through as the text on that button. When I click the Boyd Set Sail, I want to come across to my event page. Maybe it's even better here. When I click event 1, I want to come across to my event page, and all of that information is going to be pulled from my database and populated onto my event page, depending on which event it is. Okay, how am I going to do this? This part gets a little bit technical. You can just copy and follow along for this part. We are going to smash across into blocks. Right, first thing we need is we need to set out those buttons. So I'm going to come into control and I'm going to say when timeline opens. We're clicking on the timeline here. When timeline opens. This is an event block. When this event happens, do something. The event that triggers whatever this code is to run, when timeline opens. Okay, I want to create a button for every row in my database. So I'm going to come to control. I'm going to come to this repeat block, count with I. That's going to give me a counter called I from 1 to however many things are in my database. I could put in the number 8 there. I'm not going to, because what happens if I add some data or delete some? I want the code to handle that automatically. So I'm going to come across and I'm going to look under data sources, and I'm going to get the number of rows in Boyd data, table 1, default view. So there's 8 things in there at the moment. That's going to be 8. This is going to count from 1 up to 8, and it's going to count up by ones. Cool. How is that useful? Well, what I want to do is I want to create a button. By the way, I was searching manually. Don't use the search box. It's so much better. Create a button. For every row in my database, I want to create a button. Where do I want to put that button? Here's some numbers I've worked out ahead of time. About 30 across X, across lefty righty, Y uppy downy. And what do I want to, because I want them to appear after each other. We want them going down. Y decreases as we go down. As you increase Y, you're going down further for historic reasons. So I want to go further down each button that I do. So I said, let's go to math and let's times. So for the first one, I want to go 100 down. For the second one, I want to go 200 down. For the third one, I want to go 300 down. So I want 100 times I. So let's grab that. Oh, not going to do that. Where do I find I? Is it under variables? Yes. 100 times I in timeline, and this here is the name of the button that it just made. So, what do I want to do with that button? First thing I want to do is in fact, the only thing I want to do is set its button text to the name of the event. What event? Well, we'll find out in a second. Okay, so let's grab the set something's set. It should be set button I'm looking for. No matching thing. Set. Here we go. This is what I'm looking for. It says set labels, but at the moment we don't want set label because the kind of thing that we're dealing with at the moment is a button. So set button, the component that we just made, set its text to, you know what, I'm just going to leave it there for a second. And then we're going to web preview it. Boom! Hey, look at that. I've got a whole lot of buttons. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where are my others? Interesting. Let's come back to our design very quickly. Let's make it scrollable. Bing! Back to the web preview. Hey, look at that. I should have 8 buttons now. I just want to show you why we've done it this way. Let's go back to our data. Let's add something else in here. Let's call it 9. Let's call it gibberish. Let's call that gibberish. And my text is also gibberish. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I've added a 9th thing in my database. Web preview, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A 9th button was made automatically. I didn't have to change anything. The data determines the functionality, right? That's what we want. I don't want that last little bit of gibberish though, so let's delete that. Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay. Done. Okay, but we don't want 8 buttons called button. We want them to have some different data. What do we want them to have? The Boyd set sail, and then the name of the second event, and the name of the third event, the name of the fourth event. Where is all of that information stored right now? Well, it's in our database. So, back to blocks. Here, what do we actually want to set its text to? Well, we need to go to our database, find the row number for I, and get out the title. And then we're done. Let's go to, you can either come down here to data sources, or you can just say get value. Get value from Boyd data. In table 1, in the default view, in title, because I want to get the title by row, duplicate that. I want the ith row. So let me show you what I mean. Back to the data, just very, very quickly. The first time through, I is set to 1. So the first time through that loop, I want to get the first row's data. The second time through, I want the second row's data, arrival at Whangaroa. The third time through, I want the third row's data, the title, the surprise attack. You understand what's happening here? I'm looping through each row in the database, grabbing that title value out and putting it as the text on the button. What does that look like? That's interesting. I'm going to have to hard refresh. Please hold. I love it when we have technical difficulties. Here we go again. Try that a second time. Here we go. Yay! We have 8 buttons. Okay, they don't look that nice right now, but they all have the text of the titles. Nice. Okay, they don't do anything at the moment. That is our second job today. Let's now make each button correctly move over to the event page. So, go over to your blocks, and here's how we're going to do that. Again, this is not something I would expect you to be able to figure out for yourself, but this is something you can just copy along. The logic is going to be very, very similar regardless of what you're doing. So, I want this block here. When I click any button, so I'm going to search for when any label, not any label, but I'm going to change it to any button. So when any button is clicked, this component variable is going to hold whichever button was just clicked. What can we do with that? We need a variable. We need a little label. We need a little box, something to contain for the whole app. What event did I just click? what number was it? What event did I just click? And that is going to be called event ID. So we're going to get an event ID. We're going to go to variables. We're going to initialize an app variable called event ID. Remember, a variable is just a little container for data. The only thing which is in there is going to be a number from 1 to 8, and it's going to tell us what event do we want to look at. Cool. To start with, it's going to be set to 1 because sensible defaults. When any button is clicked, I want to set that to the ID of whatever button was clicked. So I'm going to come to variables and I'm going to set variable event ID, and here's this just gets a little bit complicated. I'm going to get that row of data, get value from the burning of the void, where, no, that's not it. Let's try one more time. Data sources. Where, we're looking for where. Get first row. There we go. Get first row object from void data where the ID is this. So we've clicked a button, it has a title. We can go into that data, into our database and say, which row has that title? So say I click on this first one, the void set sail. I then have that button, I know what that button is, I can check the title, I go into the database, and I say, hey, database, whoops, go out of preview. Hey, database, which row here has the title, the void set sail? And it says, oh, it's ID number 1. And that's what we're after, just the number 1. It's a long path to get there, but we'll get it. Okay. Where do we go? Back to blocks. Whoa, we're jumping all over the place at the moment. Okay. When any button is clicked, set the variable to, and we're missing one little block here, which is get property ID from first row void data where title is equal to that component's title. That block there, that's what we're looking for. A little bit hard to find, but that's what we're looking for. Label, which is a button, that component's text. It's text. That's what it's after. Okay, that is all of the code for this timeline. Let's recap. What is it doing? First of all, we're creating a variable that is going to hold our event ID. That tells our app what event do we want to see right now. When the timeline first opens, we're creating 8 buttons. We're changing where they are laid out on the page. We are then setting their text to whatever the title is in the database. When any of those buttons are clicked, we're going back to the database and we're saying, hey, what row of data corresponds to this button's text? And we're setting the app variable to just that number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, right? Remember, all of this is set up so that if you went in, you added 5 more events, it would work. If you only had 4 events, it would work. If you had 152 events, it would work. And that's why we've structured it this way. Okay? Next time, it is time for the big guns. We are looking at the event page and we are fleshing the event page out, and this is where all the meat and potatoes is of this app. I will see you there. Ka kite.